Well, yeah, the Shadow of Mordor had that revenge system. Ooh, just a little bit of feedback there for some reason. That was interesting. Anyways, Connor,
Yes.
we're recording in a different location.
Does it sound different, I wonder?
It does sound a little different because you're using that headset.
Yeah.
So, and I'm using a different microphone than usual, but this is the same microphone from last week. And it's the same microphone you're using actually. It's the same as last week. We're just in a different location. We're in Florida right now. We're on our vacation. But that's not going to stop us from giving you a Two-Penny Gamescast. That's right. What's poppin', players? Welcome back to the Two-Penny Gamescast, episode 73. I am your host, Tavin Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host, Connor Elliott. Say hello to the people, Connor.
Hello, I am in Florida.
You are in Florida.
That's where I am now. Can't say howdy.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, this show comes to you every Monday, 8 a.m., youtube.com/2penny gamescast, or mainstream podcast service of your choice. Usually, me and Connor, we come to you with the new video game news that you need to know. We come to you with 2 pennies, 2 topics, and we give you our 2 cents on them. Last week, however, that didn't really happen. Instead, we had a predictions episode for the Game Awards. That's right. The Game Awards were this last Thursday, and we're actually gonna talk about it this week. It's gonna be my first penny. But first, you can also catch us playing video games live over at twitch.tv/2pennygames, where me and Phil every Tuesday sit down and we give you we put on a little show called Hype. Hyep, have you ever played? In which me and Phil show each other games the other one has never played before. This week, though, that's going to be a little tricky because I'm in Florida. But, Connor, you're in Florida with me. So, more than likely, if we can get all the technology and stuff to work, Connor, you're going to be playing Metal Gear Solid for the first time.
The first new series game. I don't know. I don't know how is it separated from the original? Like, because it's called Metal Gear Solid.
It's not. It's just the names got weird.
The name, yeah.
The naming just got weird. Anyways, no, yeah, you'll be playing you said the new version. No, it's not. It's the same story. Anyways, but those old ones are just too old to care. And the stories you can read in a summarized article, and it's like, oh, okay, cool,
yeah.
Whatever. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna be hopefully doing that this Tuesday. So come check us out Tuesday, 1 p.m. Central Time, and then we'll see if we can get Phil on the Discord so that he can watch and break it all down with us. We're gonna have to play around with some technology though to see how to get that to work. But Connor, let's go ahead. Let's jump straight into it. So as I mentioned, the Game Awards were this last Thursday, and we had a whole predictions episode about it. We predicted winners, we predicted losers, and then we had little fun like announcement, trailer releases, reveals, all that extra stuff. And you can go and listen to last week's episode 72, live right now for all of that fun stuff. Some hot takes were made. And you know what, Connor, I'll say coming out of that episode, I was feeling moderately confident. But reality is quite a different.
It's a fickle mistress.
It's a fickle mistress, that their reality. So, Connor, let's go ahead and break it down. So we're not gonna go through the whole list because we talked about that plenty last week. And you can just Google most of the results yourself. But we are going to talk about some of the biggest surprises, some of the biggest reveals, and the big rewards that came out. So let's go ahead and start. Let's start with something that you caught some easy points for, but me and Phil did not see coming at all. Best performance.
Yes.
Me and Phil both thought it was going to be one of the Deathloop guys. It looks like you voted for.
I voted for.
You voted for Colt.
Colt, the man
but you expected Lady Dimitrescu to win.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And surprise, surprise, Lady Dimitrescu won.
Popularity won.
Popularity is you can't doubt the internet and the power of a meme.
The tall, big ass lady won.
Yeah, big vampire lady, she won. So congratulations to her. She seemed very excited about her win.
Yes.
Tall lady too.
Dude, she's very tall in real life.
Super tall.
I would be surprised if they just mo-captioned her next to the other actresses when they did the game.
They didn't mess with her scale at all.
Nothing at all. That's what she was.
That's funny. And then let's talk best. Oh, where have I gone? I've lost it. So let's talk best indie. Let's do that one. Surprise, surprise, we all thought it was going to be Kana, and it was Kana.
Yes.
I did, however, vote for Death's Door, so I didn't get a point off of that.
I refused to earn a vote for that game, so I...
You also did not get you only got 1 point off of that, so Phil pulled away with 2 right there.
Easy 2 for him.
An easy 2. But Kana Bridge of Spirits, great game. Good, solid choice for best indie game of the year. Now, Connor, let's get into some of these other ones that I thought were actually kind of surprising. Best narrative. I doubled down on Life is Strange. You doubled down on Deathloop. Phil voted for Psychonauts 2 and expected Life is Strange to win. However, in a twist that I wasn't expecting, and I don't think you were expecting, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy took it for best narrative. Somebody posted a clip on Twitter of like, hey man, if you're confused as to why it is, this is why. And it was a late game cutscene. It was very emotional, very well performed, and it inspired me to be like, oh, you know what? Let me give Guardians of the Galaxy a more of a chance, because I played it last week, only got about an hour in, and I was like, it's okay.
The combat was the main detractor from that.
Yeah, it's not the best feeling game that I've ever played. So maybe I'll while I'm on vacation here in Florida, I'm gonna give it its fair due.
Yeah. Well, Phil did say he had like after a certain point the combat kind of got stale, but he kept playing the game because he wanted to see how the story played out. So I'm surprised he actually didn't vote for that after he said that.
Yeah, me too. Next, best game direction. I voted Returnal, expected Psychonauts 2 because of Tim Schafer. You voted Deathloop, expected Returnal, and Phil doubled down on Psychonauts 2, and the winner was Deathloop for best game direction.
Got lucky there.
Not super surprising to me. Deathloop was like a close third for me when making my choices. I only expected Psychonauts because Tim Schafer has a legendary name, and it seemed to be a mostly well constructed game. So I was like, okay, that's probably what's going to happen. But I was just wrong out the gate. Returnal, big time robbed, I think, winning only best action game. But I talked about this last week where it should have been nominated for Game of the Year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But not enough people played it. I saw a lot of takes online of how Psychonauts 2 got hella robbed.
That's what I was going to say, because it seems like that one just got it.
It didn't get it didn't win a single award it was nominated for, and it was nominated in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate.
Disappointing for them.
Yep. And then finally, Game of the Year. I doubled down on Deathloop. You doubled down on Resident Evil Village. Phil doubled down on Deathloop. And what was, to me, the second biggest surprise of the night, followed only by one best family game of the year. And surprise, surprise, it's the same game. It Takes Two won Game of the Year.
I was in shock. That was a game that I thought was on there because it was the next best game for that category that they decided to put up there.
Yeah.
But it had no chance in winning.
Yeah.
Turns out
it had more than a chance.
Yeah, way more than that. Yeah, I remember seeing a post afterwards of the creator of the game, the Slavic guy, who's got a lot of attention
Joseph
2 years
Fares.
ago. What's his name again?
Joseph Fares.
Joseph Fares, of him smiling on the airplane over to the Game Awards. Now, I'd seen the post earlier from him, but after he won Game of the Year, someone quote tweeted that picture saying, "This is the face of a man that knows he won Game of the Year." And looking back on it, yeah, he looks satisfied with himself.
That's kind of funny. No, I am surprised by It Takes Two winning Game of the Year. I'm a little annoyed that it won Best Family Game. You should not play that with young children.
You're upset with that.
You shouldn't play that game with young children, man. That game gets dark, and it's not for kids, man. It's not for kids.
I think it's perfect for kids because if you are in the future gonna come across a video of a Komodo dragon eating the stomach of a deer while it's still alive and screaming, this is kind of a good introductory to life. Before you have to experience those kinds of horrors. It's horrible. I still have images in my head when I saw it. It was terrible. It was horrible.
This is a personal thing?
I only remembered it recently because some idiot kid on Twitter got a lot of attention because he was talking about how much he loves Komodo dragons, and that just nagged in my brain. I was like, oh, this kid's an idiot. Kids don't know what they're talking about. They don't know what to expect from life. Might as well give them a dose of reality.
You're an insane man. Now.
Insane? Yes. Correct? Also yes.
Connor. Let's talk about some other stuff that happened at the Game Awards here. Let's talk about some reveals and some trailers and some announcements that happened. Very early on in the show, a new Star Wars game got announced. Star Wars Eclipse from Quantic Dream. I'll say, first of all, really cool trailer.
Fantastic trailer.
Lots of great imagery, really well rendered, super beautiful. Great music throughout it all. The whole time I was watching it, I wasn't exactly sure it was Star Wars. The Lucasfilm thing did come up, close to the front of the trailer, so I was like, "Is this Star Wars? It's space." And then, the ships came through, and I was like, "Oh man, it does look a lot like Star Wars, but it could be anything." And then the lightsabers, and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, it's Star Wars." It's Star Wars.
The outline of Yoda, it became apparent pretty quickly.
The Yoda, yeah. So this is going to be the first piece of content in the High Republic era. I don't know where that lies in the timeline, so don't ask. I knew it once when it was first announced. They were like, "Hey, we're going to do a new era of Star Wars," and I was like, "All right, cool, whatever. I'll see that whenever something important happens." But yeah, this is going to be the first. I believe it's just the first piece of content in the High Republic, but there might be like some books or some random shit that nobody cares about in that era.
So correct me if I'm wrong. High Republic is before the Phantom Menace.
I just said I don't know.
Okay. I thought it's.
I believe so, but I don't know. I believe it is, prequel era.
Okay.
That sounds right. I think it's after the Old Republic, but before, the Clone Wars era.
Okay.
Whatever they call that these days. I don't even know. I think they call it the Age of the Republic or something like that.
Okay.
So yeah, High Republic. It's going to be interesting. I'm very interested. However, Quantic Dreams. Okay, we'll see.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen so much stuff online. At one point they mentioned they wanted to do a game that was separate from their classic style of making video games, like they've done with
I don't think
Souls,
so.
Heavy Rain. You think they're doing the same thing?
I know. I'm very much expecting the same thing here. I do not think we're gonna get we're in the sense of for those who don't know, we're gonna get the more narrative based, quick time event, press a button, make some choices, heavy cinematic flair to it. Yeah, I fully believe that's what we're getting here. David Cage, not the best writer in the video game industry.
Not the best man in the video game industry.
Not the best man in the video game industry, and Quantic Dream as a whole, lots of abuse going on there. Lots of just workplace harassment and toxicity going on over there. Which there were articles flying around all week that the Game Awards was not going to quote unquote take sides on the Activision Blizzard controversy going on. And then Jeff Keighley right at the front said, "Okay, we're all talking about it. Let's go ahead and say it. Hey, no. The harassment of any kind is not allowed in this industry. We need to do better." And then we got a trailer from Quantic Dream. We got music from Riot Games. And Neil Druckmann, who I don't think partakes in abusive behavior personally, but Naughty Dog as a whole has been rife with crunch for years. So it's it sucks when all of our giants and all of our trendsetters and all of our studios that push the culture forward have a lot of issues.
They still perpetuate the same problems.
Yeah. So it's kind of hard to avoid these things when the Game Awards is a commercial. So it's hard to avoid that when so much money is involved, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I have a good idea.
Yeah.
Open your mind to me on this.
I'll open your mind.
I'll
open my mind.
Please do.
Yeah.
Next Game of the Year awards, what we do is whenever a game is introduced, done by a certain studio that has allegations against them, you put a little symbol up in the corner. And you say beforehand, if you see the symbol, just let you know they do got some sexual harassment stuff going on.
You guys specifically need to get some work. No, there's no way they're that way.
I know. They would never, but it'd be great as hell. If they
that would be funny. They'd be like, hey, these guys need to do better, but here's a cool thing that's coming their way. Yeah. That would be really interesting.
They would have the balls, too, because the only reason they made some kind of statement on the abuse going on in the games industry right now was because a lot of people did get upset when they announced they weren't going to be taking sides.
Yep.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so.
Yes.
Jeff Keighley, you're in a position of cultural influence, bro. You need to be one of the ones leading the charge to better this medium that we love so much.
He also doesn't seem to be in a position to really be compromised by the issues in the game industry. It seems like him coming out forward of.
I mean, he works in the marketing side of the games industry, so it's a little tough. That's where his money is. And you saw it throughout the entirety of the Game Awards, but we'll get into that in a minute. So yeah, Star Wars Eclipse. I think it was 2023 is when they're said to come, but we'll see if that ever happens. Following that, I thought Hellblade had a great gameplay trailer.
Very good one. I need to go back and play the first game.
As do I.
Do you have it?
I do.
Okay,
Yeah,
you haven't played it.
it's sitting on a. It's sitting in. I have it on PlayStation. It's sitting in there. But obviously, I would play this through like Gamepass or something on my PC. But yeah, I was super impressed that it looks like Ninja Theory is really taking a really big step in being really pushing what it means to be a cinematic driven action game type thing. So I'm very excited about that. Very horrid imagery in that game.
Oh yeah, looks disgusting.
Very twisted, very gross. And then I love the whispers coming back and the sort of that thing that they were touching on in the first one with the mental illness type stuff with the headphones and everything. So that's exciting. And then I think the final like really big thing that seems really that blew my mind, other than the Matrix thing, which is getting a lot of traction online, but it's just like a little like tech demo. For Unreal Engine 5. But Alan Wake 2.
That's very surprising.
That one completely took me by surprise.
They did do a remastered version of the first game recently.
It was that, and some Control DLC was, it did involve Alan Wake in some way. The world of Alan Wake. Yeah, it was one of the DLC packs did something like at least the logo treatment was like very Alan Wake style. So I don't
/Alan Wake.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But you know, it's been 10 years since the first game. And then they said, "Hey man, this game's going to be different. It's not just a straight-up action game. We're doing a survival horror this time." I believe they said 2023 as well, but again, we'll see.
Yeah.
Probably not. Maybe they said early development. I don't know.
I know the first game apparently is, despite it being an action game, scary at multiple points. So taking the dive to focus more on the horror elements and the survival aspects could be really good for them.
I think it's smart. And you know what? It's funny because Alan Wake, I think, is a game that hasn't aged perfectly, but it is important for the time that it was released. You know, the flashlight gimmick was huge, and then it's an important game culturally and I believe it was like one of those like first like XBL games, wasn't it? Like Xbox Live games or something. Like it didn't have a physical release when it first came out, right? Or am I wrong?
You might be right about that.
I think I'm wrong about that.
No, right.
You might be right.
Yeah, because they were doing weird stuff at that time.
Yeah. Anyways, so yeah, very exciting. Very interested to see more of that. Connor,
yes,
we didn't just count points off of what we voted for and what we thought was going to win last week. We also had little predictions about reveals and announcements, and pretty much across the board, all three of us were wrong.
Yeah. The one who got something right was Phil, who had something related to Dream.
Yeah, he doubled. He just added an extra point to Dream winning. So congratulations, Dream won. But the rest of his thing was false. Now, I'll say I have one prediction that's up for debate, and it's either I get full points or no points on this, and that's the Kojima thing. I was so close because Kojima showed up, but only for like some like movie thing that he's producing or whatever, or he has a hand in with Guillermo del Toro. But then Guillermo had to open his stupid mouth and say, "Man, Silent Hills. Wonder if that's ever gonna come back." And I'm like, "You fucker, you absolute cheeky fuck." So that's either gonna blow me out of the water, or that's gonna blow my prediction out of the water, or it's gonna. Or it means nothing and I'm going to get full points. But, Connor, however, whether I have full points on that prediction or not, I'm still not winning. So, let's go ahead and break it down, my friend. So, last year, I fucking crushed.
You did.
I had like a dozen-point difference between me and you. This year, it's a much tighter race. So, I'm sitting at a pretty 20 to maybe 23 points. I don't know. We'll find out in the future. But to be honest, it doesn't matter because I'm in last place.
Yeah.
Phil came in at a solid 24 points. And you, my friend Connor,
edging out Phil
with a good old 27 points. So congrats.
Come on, yes.
Connor,
applause?
You did it, buddy. You won the Game Awards.
Woohoo!
I said I would. Here's your own personal Game Award right there. I just set it down on the table. Right there, you can take that. You can take that home.
Thank you very much.
I just slammed my phone on the table.
You didn't have to say
it. Anyways, that is going to be it for Game Award. We didn't even talk about the show in general. Connor, what did you feel about the show in general?
A lot of ads.
There
were a lot of ads, which I get, but they just kept coming and coming, and it lengthened the entire awards ceremony. By the end of it, I was just kind of bored.
Yeah,
I was like, okay. Get on with it. You've dragged it on as much as possible. But besides that, a lot of the early moments of the Game Awards were interesting. They had funny moments sprinkled in throughout with people like Jim Carrey, people like...
weird.
It was weird, but it was funny. Yeah. Can't deny that. I was satisfied. I was relatively satisfied with the announcements. The only thing that really, really grabbed me was the unveiling of the second Space Marine game. It's been 11 years since the first one, highly regarded by fans, and now we're getting another one. So I was super over the moon about that one. The awards overall, I didn't play as many of the games that were nominated for positions this year, so I also didn't have much of a stake in my favorite game of the year being on that list. Even though I did play Resident Evil Village, which was good, I would have preferred something like Tales of Arise or Omori, which got jacked, which unfortunately kept being brought up in my mind whenever I saw best indie game, best art direction, best
Not enough people played it.
narrative, and it was like, oh, it should have been nominated for
Not
that.
enough people played it.
Not enough people played it. And it came out in a weird point too.
Yep.
I know
It's so long ago. It's faded in people's minds.
People forgot Forza initially, didn't they, or something?
No,
like
it just came out later in the. It came out later this year, but it did come in under the it's still eligible for Game Awards, but not enough people played it, so they didn't nominate it for Game of the Year. But it did get Forza won pretty much every other category it was even nominated for. So Forza had a big year this year.
Yeah. One of the other notable things I have to say about the awards ceremony as a whole is they really were pushing the whole Hollywood actor vibe.
You thought so this year?
What?
You think so this year?
I still think so. Yeah.
I felt that more last year.
They had Guillermo del Toro. They had Jim Carrey. I'm not talking about the actual things that were said because that's really irrelevant. Keanu Reeves. Was Keanu Reeves there?
Yeah. Well, yeah. They had the digital little advertisements for The Matrix, but that was tied into a video game.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like this stuff was just there to jerk off Hollywood or try to get them in.
Which is what it felt like last year to me.
It felt like that last year. It wasn't as bad as last year. I should specify that, and it didn't. It wasn't egregious enough for me to remember this Game of the Year awards as ones where they just kept bringing that stuff up. But during the award ceremony, I did keep noticing it.
Yeah, I'm mostly with you here. I felt the Game Awards were very long this year, and I do not think they needed to be this long. Listen, the Game Awards is a commercial. It is a commercial. It is equal celebration of video games and another place to have your E3-esque reveals and announcements and trailers and stuff like that. So it is part commercial, and I understand that. But I think we're losing the balance. We're losing the ratio here to the commercialism of the Game Awards as opposed to the celebration of the art form. And I would personally like it if we took a step back and focused more on the celebration of the art form.
That's true.
I think back to 2018, where was it 2018? Yeah, because it was the same year that God of War came out, right? They had the big three up on stage. All together, all right there. That was 2018, right? Or was that 2019? Doesn't matter.
Not 2019, because I was not there, and I remember what you were talking
about. Oh, right, because you were sick that year.
Yeah.
So I watched it with some friends who didn't care about it. But yeah, 2018, they had the big three out there. That was a big cultural moment. It was really cool to see. It was Sean Layden, it was Phil Spencer, it was Reggie at the time. To all stand up there and say, "Hey man, games for everybody. We love games." Yada 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 yada. All of that was really cool and really dope. And in a flagship year like 2018 was with Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War, Spider-Man. There were more, but they're slipping my mind right now. That was a great year for games, both on the playing side and the development side, and just it was a big cultural moment I felt back in 2018. There were great announcements that year, of which I can't remember.
But I remember there being ones that were very notable.
Yeah, and then the musical performances were really, really good. And
that was very.
I felt like it was just a really, really good balance. I still feel like that year has probably been the best year we've had so far. 2019 was a bit of a dud in terms of the award show. 2020 got a little complicated with COVID. And
I remember it was pretty fun.
I still thought it was okay, and I believe last year when we talked about it, I did enjoy the show, but I didn't enjoy how much focus there was on the Hollywood types, like Christopher Nolan's there. My dogs are barking, by the way, if you can hear that. Christopher Nolan was there. Just a bunch of Hollywood actor types and stuff, and it was just like, why are these guys here? These guys don't care about our industry. This year, I felt like they had a better balance of that. Sure, Jim Carrey was there. Sure, Simu Liu from Shang-Chi was there. But Simu seems like a bit of a gamer. He kind of understands. He even went on stage and made jokes about watching Twitch streams at the Game Awards instead of going home and playing Halo Infinite, which I'm like, okay, cool, he gets it. He was making funny jokes. Jim Carrey was there for Sonic. At least he's there for a reason. He's there to market the Sonic movie. Okay, cool. Which I thought had a pretty solid trailer. It looks to be a much better movie than the last movie.
Yeah.
Which I didn't think was horrible, but it wasn't good. And then Guillermo del Toro, but he's been hanging out in the game space for a minute now. He's been doing like little game experiences, and he's been hanging out with Kojima for years, and Kojima was there to market movies for some reason because he's friends with Jeff Keighley and yada yada yada. It's all just a big marketing machine. But where I get lost is when we had the 3-minute music video in Doki 5.
Man, people were shitting on that thing.
Dude, why was it there? You're just wasting our time at that point. And then it's like Imagine Dragons was there, and I was like, okay, cool.
They did many performances, didn't they? I completely blocked that out at the time.
There weren't too many performances that I thought, and like it was just we only brought the orchestra out for the Game of the Year nominations, which was beautiful again, as it always is. And then there were a couple of other musical moments as well that some were okay. Opening with Sting was a strange choice.
You and me didn't know who he was. Like we were like, who is this guy?
Yeah, because we're 23, 24-year-old little fuckheads who don't know anything about Sting.
But I don't like Sting anyway.
But that was a strange choice, but the music was good. That dude with the violin, remember the dude with the violin who was going hard in that opening music segment? That dude was great. But yeah, I just like they didn't even read off the names of the nominees this year. Like they just threw it up on the screen and then nonchalantly announced the winner, and I was like, all right, like. Can we be a little more focused on the celebration of the art form here? Like, why are we so focused on what's coming? Why are we not celebrating what has come?
I think one of the things they should have done, and I'm surprised I think this way, because when they were first marketing the award, they were like, we're going to have 40 new titles that are going to be shown.
50. It was 50 games. He said 50 games were going to be present.
50 games. And I was excited at first, but as I watched the awards, a lot of them didn't need to be there because that was one of the reasons why it was also so long.
I mean, Nintendo came out with multiple trailers of just things that are already out. Like it was just like, hey, we don't have anything new to show, but we do want to be here. So here's some trailers of Metroid Dread. I'm like, what? Why are we spending this time watching a trailer for Metroid Dread? Why are we not just playing music from Metroid Dread? Granted, the music in Metroid Dread's not phenomenal, but like, why aren't we playing, Metroid music? Why aren't we doing a big performance or something, or something to, and then they brought the pot out from Elden Ring, and I'm like, dude, the game hasn't even come out. We don't even know if that pot is cool.
All right, so two things. First of all, about Elden Ring as a major lover of the Souls games, and that being my most anticipated game of the year, they didn't need to show a trailer for it.
Right.
We've seen a lot of trailers. I would have even liked to see that just on my phone or at home on a computer rather than a big game award, especially with lore stuff going on. So I was like, I don't know why you need to do that. Stuff,
show
just
gameplay.
Cut it down a little bit. Yeah, but the pot is pretty cool. I won't lie. We've seen the gameplay demo. He's in the gameplay demo.
It would have been a cute moment in a show that wasn't 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Your show was over 3 hours long, dude. Like, let's cut this down, man. Let's get an editor in here and let's say, like, hey, what do we really need? Do we need to take commercial breaks? Do we need to take commercial breaks for an award show? No other award show does that.
One of the reasons also why we don't have cable anymore, we don't use cable that much, is because why do we need commercials?
Exactly.
We've kind of gotten past that point.
And so it's like, why are we showing things for like YouTube shorts? Why are we and that's cool for those creators and so forth. But like, is it necessary for this? We can be a little prestigious here. We can be a little pretentious here at the Game Awards. We can take ourselves a little more seriously than the industry usually takes itself here. We can gatekeep a little bit here. Now, I'm not saying like we need to draw hard lines and be like, oh, what is gaming culture and what isn't. Obviously, the creator space is a huge part of gaming culture. Guys like, Jacksepticeye and Dream and all those guys, they do matter to this culture. But do we need this weird, super heavily edited trailer of some hype reel of random YouTube creators I've never heard of before? I don't know if we do, man. Like, it's just weird. Do we need random fucking Nintendo trailers that we've already seen? I don't know if we do. And then we keep cutting to, like, I forget her name, but it was just that one girl who bless her heart, she was doing a good job, but she just kept coming and like, hey man, stick around after the show for this and that and the third. I'm like, this is the wrong tone.
Yeah.
This is too much of a commercial. This is too much of a let's sell you stuff. Like,
I did find it funny though that she kept popping up randomly, just like, hey, it was amusing.
It was like during the pre-show, I was like, okay, yeah, cool, whatever.
Yeah.
She's getting her little thing out. She's in the pre. She's gonna be in the post. Okay, cool, whatever. But it was like in the middle of the award show, I was like, come on, like it's been 40 minutes since we've given out an award, since we've had a musical thing, since it's just been commercials this whole time, and most of them I just don't care about, man. So,
make best role playing have an actual acceptance.
I'm saying, what the fuck are we doing?
I don't know why.
There were 5 speeches given, 5 acceptance speeches given.
A lot.
There weren't a lot.
There weren't a lot.
No.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It was weird.
It's that reliance on having commercials, having random music performances.
I do understand that's part of this, and I do understand to just get this show to work, we do have to have advertisements for some reason. That's why the Shikaijo Man fucking exists. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, man. We need a better balance than this. This isn't doing it for me.
You can have advertisement, just maybe not always interrupt it during the awards with commercials.
I just think the Game Awards as a whole just need better direction, and they need an editor hard. Mm-hmm. And I think I said something along these lines last year of like, hey man, this is kind of getting long in the tooth, and I don't know why these elements are here. Like that type of thing is still here. We don't need to appease other markets. Like, let's just fucking. The Game Awards should be more masturbatory than they are. Mm-hmm. You know, in a way of like celebrating the art form, not in a commercialism masturbatory way, because it's way too much of that. Anyways, Connor, let's move on to my second penny of the day. PlayStation appears to be getting some type of Game Pass.
Surprisingly, but kind of expected in a way, considering how well Xbox has done with their own.
Exactly. This is several years later than I was expecting personally, but let's go ahead and get into it. So I'm pulling a Bloomberg article. PlayStation plans new service to take on Xbox Game Pass. This is from Jason Schreier. Sony Group Corporation's PlayStation division is planning a new subscription service to compete with rival Microsoft Corp's popular Xbox Game Pass. Excuse me. According to people familiar with Sony's plans and documents review by Bloomberg. The service, codenamed Spartacus, will allow PlayStation owners to pay a monthly fee for access to a catalog of modern and classic games, said the people who asked not to be identified because they weren't authorized to speak to the press about the plans. The offering will likely be available on the smash hit PlayStation 4, which has sold more than 116 million units, and its elusive successor, the PlayStation 5. When it launches, expected in the spring, the service will merge Sony's 2 existing subscription plans, PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now. Currently, PlayStation Plus is required for most online multiplayer games and offers free monthly titles, while PlayStation Now allows users to stream or download older games. Documents reviewed by Bloomberg suggest that Sony plans to retain the PlayStation Plus branding, but phase out PlayStation Now. Details on Spartacus may not be finalized, but documentation reviewed by Bloomberg outlines a service with 3 tiers. The first would include existing PlayStation Plus benefits. The second would offer a large catalog of PlayStation 4 and eventually PlayStation 5 games. The third tier would add extended demos, game streaming, and a library of classic PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP games. A representative for PlayStation didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. Although PlayStation has outsold the Xbox in recent years, Sony has lagged behind the Microsoft. Okay. Just scrubbing through real quick to make sure that there's nothing else important in this. Okay, no, nothing else. All right, so main thing here, merging of PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now. 3 main tiers. One being your normal PlayStation Plus that we have now. The next being your Game Pass equivalent, but for PS4 and PS5 games. And then the third tier being reaching back to PS1, PS2, PS3, and PSP. Sounds great to me, man. This is actually super exciting in my head.
I always liked. I haven't got Xbox Games Pass. I know you do, and you seem to love it.
I do enjoy quite a bit. It's really convenient.
Yeah, this is a service I will definitely be over the moon to pay for. I mean,
yeah,
it's as you said, it's kind of a long time coming. It's surprising that they hadn't done this years ago, considering that the usual way these things are done, when a competitor has some great new idea that makes them money, you would do the same thing because you don't really have a reason not to. But they just, despite the fact that they lagged behind on that front, I'm happy that we're getting it eventually.
I think part of the I think for why it took so long is twofold. One being PlayStation 3 games are hard to emulate and hard to port over because of the cell processor thing. The internal hardware of the PS3 was hard to develop for, so it's hard to bring those games forward. But PS1, PS2 games, those exist. Some of them exist on PS4, some of them were offered on PS3, et cetera, and obviously through backwards compatibility, they are available on PS5 as well. Games like Bully and the Jak and Daxters and the Sly Cooper. Oh no, Sly's not available on that. But there's like a lot of like PS2 classic games available for PlayStation 4 and so forth. GTA 3, GTA San Andreas, GTA, etc. So I think PlayStation 3 is a big issue as to how could they get this technology to work correctly. And then second of all, I don't know if PlayStation has never felt the need for to do something like this. First of all, they're not super concerned with upkeep in the history of video games, which I think is a big flaw for them in their business practices. There's even that Herman Holst quote that has been paraded around. He said years ago at this point, but it gets brought up and paraded around every time something like this comes on, where he talked down on backwards compatibility and was like, hey man, like we see the stats, not a lot of people play this, it's really just not that important. And they got into a little bit of hot water for that statement, but he's not wrong. Like, old games are old, and not a lot of people go back and play these old games. Sure, you might load it up for a weekend just to kick it onto some nostalgia shit, but in reality, that's one weekend out of the year. What are you doing the most of that time? You're playing PlayStation's big new offerings that come out every year. You know what I mean? And then even on top of that, I feel like PlayStation enjoys their $60, $70 little bump they get every time a new title comes out, as opposed to a subscription service. You're hardlining. I'm never going to buy another Xbox game ever again, but I am subscribed to Xbox Game Pass for $10 a month every month for who knows how long.
Until you get bored of it.
Until I get bored of it.
Which is probably never, because you play video games all the time.
I play video games all the time. And there's a lot of old stuff on Xbox Game Pass. They just recently added a whole bunch of new titles that, from way back in the day. Like, I think, Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith, the video game, is available on backwards compatibility. I don't think it's available on Game Pass, though. I don't know for certain. But speaking specifically to this plan here, I love the tiered option. I love that we have more options for gamers here. If you have no interest in any of that, you just want to buy and own your games all the time, fine. But you still want to play online with your friends every once in a while, here you go. Your PlayStation Plus benefits, they're still there. Still probably the same amount. They're probably not going to give that a lower thing. It's probably everything else is going to get added on top of that. So PlayStation Plus right now is $60 a year. I don't imagine that's going to be going down, but I think it would be a nice consumer-friendly thing if it went down to like $45 a year. And then $60 is for that second tier of PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5. And then $80 to $100 a year for the full sweep of things. That kind of makes sense to me. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too outrageous. And then, of course, your monthly or 3-month plans, whatever those are, I couldn't even tell you. I think all of that would be interesting. I'd be willing to spend $100 a year for a full catalog of PlayStation Classic games at any time. I just would, man. If I could go back and play game like PS2 classic games like fucking Sly Cooper at any time and just load it up, that would be fucking awesome. If I could play Metal Gear Solid 1 or Silent Hill at any time, that would be fucking awesome.
It will be.
I love that PSP is being included in this. Rest in peace, PlayStation Vita. That's really, really disappointing, especially with Persona 4 Golden being was locked on that platform for so long, but then recently came to PC. But then games like Freedom Wars and I always really loved Severed, even though you can just get Severed on your phone now. But Freedom Wars was great. And there's a lot of people. Uncharted Golden Abyss is fantastic, and people love the Killzone that's on PlayStation Vita. So I do wish there was a way that we could tap into those, and maybe one day there will be. But obviously, there's not as much fanfare around the Vita as there is around the three main consoles and the PlayStation Portable, because everybody had a PlayStation Portable. But if we're honest, people didn't have a PlayStation Portable for PlayStation Portable games. They had it for emulation, and you could play like Mario and shit on that by jailbreaking it or whatever the fuck they were doing back in the day. But yeah, overall, this actually really excites me. I'm very excited to see what this turns into and what all of this could mean. This news is a little bit old. We should have talked about it last week, but we were busy with our predictions episode. But I did want to reach back and touch on it because I think it's important.
It's a pretty big, important piece of news.
Yeah.
It'll change the way PlayStation games are played. Unless, of course, they screw it up somehow.
Which wouldn't be surprising coming from PlayStation. I have a lot of questions. Is it PlayStation Now still? Is it still streaming, or am I downloading these games? How does it work in that way? Is it going to be continuously added to, and are we going to continuously get new titles added to this service, or is it just going to be kind of a one and done thing like that weird PlayStation Plus collection is on PlayStation 5? What happens to the PlayStation Plus collection now that this service exists? Are those games automatically involved in that? Do I have to get the subscription, or does that still exist if I have the tier 1 service of just PlayStation Plus? Are new games going to be added to that? What is that? Et cetera, et cetera. So I'm very curious as to what all of those smaller details are going to be, and I really do hope it's you download these games PlayStation Plus. Xbox Game Pass style, and not streaming them PS Now style, because quite frankly the lag and the not having the 1-to-1 on the controls is annoying for a lot of games, and it's just not the best way to play video games. At least not yet. The technology's coming, but where we are right now, not exactly. Connor, anything else to say about the PlayStation Plus Spartacus, whatever this thing is?
Not quite. I mean,
coming?
It's going to come out soon, so we'll be able to get the full details, hopefully soon. Unless
Hopefully
the leak
soon.
proves a little inaccurate. I'm just looking
Maybe
forward to it.
I could see maybe announced E3 time next year, but we could sit on this for a year. It could never happen. We never know. But it does seem to actually be happening, and I'd be shocked if it never happened. Anyways, Connor, you doing okay over there, buddy?
Yeah.
Ooh, you okay? You little scratch of the throat, little chin.
No, pulled a muscle in my chin.
In your
I was
chin?
yawning. Yeah.
Like just now?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Ooh. That
All
hurts.
right. Well, Connor, let's let you massage that out real quick while I break down our third topic, your first penny of the day. We've lost another OG, man. And it's just important that we bring these moments up when they come. So, rest in peace, Masayuki Uemura.
Uemura.
Thank you. So here we go. We got an NPR article from Michael Levitt. Video game pioneer behind Nintendo's groundbreaking console has died. The video game community is mourning the loss of one of its early pioneers, Masayuki Uemura. Uemura, whose death on Monday at age 78 was just announced, was the lead architect behind the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES, and its successor, the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, SNES. Uemura was born in Tokyo in 1943 and became an electrical engineer. In 1972, he joined Nintendo and was working on the predecessor to early hit game Duck Hunt. In the early 80s, he was tasked with creating a home console to rival Atari, and Nintendo's president asked him to come up with a game using cartridges. The result was the Famicom, short for Family Computer, which was renamed the NES when it hit the U.S. market in 1985 at a price of about $150. With games like Super Mario and Donkey Kong, the NES dominated the home video game industry in the 80s and 90s, selling more than 60 million units globally and effectively reviving the then struggling home video game industry. Uemura eventually retired from Nintendo in 2004 and went on to become the director of game studios at Ritsumeikan University in Kyoto. The university will hold a memorial for Uemura at a date not yet determined.
As you said before, it's just another loss of a great.
No loss of greatness. I was thinking recently about where we are in the video game industry right now. And it's, obviously it's direct comparison to like the film industry and stuff. And we are now at the point where we've got guys who learned from pioneers and are taking it forward. Like, we are in our, I would argue, we are just before like our George Lucas or Steven Spielberg era of film, because those guys were like the first like big wig directors to come out and break out into Hollywood, but they were the first ones to come out with an education plan. Like, they went to school to become filmmakers.
Mm-hmm.
So we're closing in on that era of our current history right now. So it's unfortunate to see these guys who are so influential so early on and who really crafted the industry as we know it today. But you know, it's an unfortunate sign and an unfortunate landmark of progress in our industry whenever these pioneers pass. So rest in peace, Uemura. We appreciate everything you did for this industry. Connor, all that said, let's go ahead and move on straight to topic number 4, your second penny of the day. PlayStation is doing something kind of interesting, and this didn't hit my radar at all, so I'm glad that you found it. Yeah. This is a PlayStation lifestyle article by Zarmina Khan. PlayStation partners with Family Video Game Database, which helps parents' understanding of games. Sony Interactive Entertainment has announced that its PlayStation brand has partnered with Family Video Game Database, a popular database amongst parents that helps them develop an understanding of video games and navigate their children's gaming experience. The database is the work of Andy Robertson, author of the book Taming Gaming. Quote, "The Family Video Game Database is a wonderful platform to help parents and guardians navigate the world of video games, and we are excited to come on board as its first corporate sponsor," said Sean Whitcomb, Director of Trust and Safety at SIE. Quote, "At Sony Interactive Entertainment, we want everyone to have a joyful experience on our PlayStation platforms, so it is important that parents make informed decisions when playing video games, from using parental control settings on our consoles to choosing games that work best for them and their families." With Sony's help, Robertson plans to expand the Family Video Game Database to make it easier to use for parents. Additionally, he plans to do more in the area of accessibility. One of his plans is to enable game developers to contribute to the database and highlight accessibility features and settings in their games. Family Video Game Database is still in its infancy and already has an average of 15,000 visitors daily. So, I've personally never heard of Family Video Game Database, but this service sounds fucking incredible. And to be frank, I wish it was a tool my parents had when I was a young lad. You know, something where they could, you know, they didn't buy just random games off the shelf. Some of them are cool, some of them are garbage. You know, this way they could actually see games that like were appropriate for me to play at a young age, and were of quality and had in-depth systems and you know, in-depth parent control settings and so forth for young gamers. So I think PlayStation partnering with Family Video Game Database is really just going to allow them to grow this service and get them to you know, be something more dependable for more families and more young kids who like video games.
The one downside to this, I have to point out, is that the kids whose parents actually use this service will no longer be in the position we were in, where we had to convince our parents that this game that was very bad for our age wasn't actually as bad as it says.
I never got away with that. So.
You never got away with it?
No, I never got away with that. Not me personally. Like, you know, gangsta games were just off the line. Were off the market for me.
You can't with GTA. That was in the public consciousness.
Yeah,
they knew.
Well, my dad was mad when I wanted to play Saints Row. So you know, it's just things like that. So, but this is cool, and I like for gamers with disabilities. I think the service is fucking phenomenal. This is just a huge resource for them to be able to go in and actually look at a game and become more educated on their purchases and be able to be like, okay, can I play this game? As opposed to they kind of have a crapshoot right now where, like, you know, some games are advertised for their accessibility options, but a lot of games it's like, can I play this? I don't know. They spend $60 and go and make it an hour in and go, oh, no, I can't play this. That sucks.
Some mechanic could be introduced and be like, it doesn't work with my disabilities.
This kills my, or, you know, it's a UI thing, or it's, you know, it's some. So there's just a lot of, like, small things that, like, could completely cause someone to not be able to enjoy a video game. And having this database to where developers can even go in and be like, hey man, our game does this, this, and that. You can do this, this, and this with it to change these settings around and so forth. All of that is great. That's a huge resource for a lot of people. So very exciting. Big ups to PlayStation for this is an example of iteration. This is an example of progress in our industry. More people can play. More people have access to information to play. And it allows, parents who aren't gamers themselves or have no interest in video games, this gives them a resource to be like, okay, my kid loves video games. What can I get him for Christmas this year? Let me look around. What is age appropriate? What isn't going to be too difficult? Maybe it's something I can jump in and play with them and see what all these things are about, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of opportunity here for growth, and that's very, 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 very exciting. 15,000 daily visitors for a small site, and now about to get some PlayStation funding.
It's on its way up.
Looking up for family video game database.
So let's hope it hits off, though, because it could definitely be one of those services that sounds good, has a good premise, but then just isn't taken by people, and they don't use it. We'll see, though.
It seems like I can see plenty of use for it. Yeah.
So, I think it will take off if they do actually end up becoming more and more popular and known by people. So
exactly.
Use as a source.
Connor, that's it for the news this week, really. There were a few other things that we could have talked about. Take-Two is coming down It Takes-Two neck, and that was kind of interesting. But there were a couple more things that, were cool, but, I don't know if they were necessarily worth doubling back for on the week we missed. But let's go ahead and get into our final segment of what we've been playing. I want to start with you, Connor, because I think that would be very interesting. You and I have been playing, or I've been watching you rather, work your way through Resident Evil Village, and just the other day you finished your little playthrough with that.
You did the game, yes.
Yes, you did. So, Connor, break that down for me. Give me a final review of 9 months late of Resident Evil Village.
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, let me start with the combat. So, coming off pretty close off the back of finishing Resident Evil 7, the gameplay was way better.
Way better.
The weapons you get, the upgradability of those weapons, the enemy types that you fight being a lot more interesting.
I think just the game feel and shooting alone is way better in Village than it was in 7.
It feels a lot more smooth, versus in the original the Resident Evil 7, when I would fight the sludge monsters, I would miss shots, even though they're this huge, big thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I'm fighting these smaller enemies that have smaller heads, and I'm getting those shots off
headshots.
Way more.
Yeah.
So combat exponentially better in every way. As far as story is concerned, I know you had said it gets ridiculous. There were certain parts that were, such as the twist that is revealed near the end.
Yeah.
Completely out of left field, didn't need to happen.
Yeah.
Though it did have kind of a positive result, it still hasn't been a year since the game came out. But thankfully, a criticism that I would have in future games is no longer going to be there. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Okay, I know what you're saying.
But the plot itself, I enjoyed. I don't think the plot ever got so ridiculous beyond that one thing that I think everything about Resident Evil going forward is going to be really, really stupid. The teasing of what is next for Resident Evil, once again, avoiding spoilers, I'm a little bit iffy about. I don't know how exactly they're going to play that off.
I'm not super interested in that specific direction. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. For people who have played the game and maybe don't know what I'm talking about, it's what is it's regards to the end credit scene, the after credit scene of Resident Evil.
What a Resident Evil 9 could be and who could be in it. It's fine.
Yeah. The game doesn't have much replayability for me. Like I wouldn't.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I wouldn't. It's not like Resident Evil 2 remake where I could see myself.
You know what's funny? I thought that when I first played Village, watching you play Village, I was sitting there and I was like, do I want to go through the pain of replaying the game 5 times to get that platinum? Like, cause there's a bunch of like, do a playthrough with without saving, or do a playthrough under a certain time, or do a playthrough. There's some other stuff like in 7. There was 7 and 2. And I think 3. It was like do a playthrough, never touch a box.
Oh, yeah.
Never open a box. And I was like, and obviously that's not a thing in 8, but I'm sure they've got some kind of replacement. And then also there's something for their, whatever they call it, their mercenaries mode. There's some trophies tied into that too. But watching you play, I was like, you know what? Honestly, I wouldn't mind replaying this game.
You wouldn't.
No, it was like a thing in my head where I was like, I might do it. I might do it one day. Not now. I'm busy replaying other games from much farther along.
Yeah,
so.
you're already in that era where you're just area where you're playing games over and over again.
Yeah.
You're playing Spider-Man Miles Morales.
I am, but yeah, just more of like in the background and stuff. But overall, final notes on Village, positive.
Very positive. I think it's not the best game I played this year, but it's up there. It's
up there?
going to be nearby, maybe in the top 5. I'm assuming. I have to break down my list again. Maybe in 5th position.
I'd have to go look at mine, and I've got some new things I want to add on to. Specifically, excuse me. I made it further in Death's Door this week. Death's Door is fucking good, man. Death's Door is fucking good. I love the level design in it. I love how it feels to really play. I love that like it's not a particularly hard game, but it's not afraid to kick your ass, and it's not afraid to throw things at you to where you go, oh man, come on. I do think its level design is smart enough to where like you can do things, and its checkpoint system is smart enough to where like you make a certain amount of progress and you go, oh, okay, great. Now when I die, I don't have to do all this backtracking. But for the moments where it's like you're almost there and then you die and you have to get sent back and then you have to backtrack through a bunch of things, you're like, all right, this is annoying. But overall, I think the writing is cute and fun. Most of its jokes do hit and make me chuckle or whatever.
Darker humor than I thought from watching you play that game.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, it's charm and it's level design and it's just overall game design. I'm really, really, really enjoying. Lighting is something that I want to touch on. Lighting is not something that like it's touched on a lot in video games. It's done really well in Death's Door, where like small changes in the environment will drastically change the lighting, and that's something they didn't need to do, especially for a game that has a bird's eye camera. Like you didn't need to change the lighting in the mansion when I knocked down the what's the thing?
Chandelier.
The what?
Chandelier.
When I knocked down the chandelier, you didn't need to change the lighting in that environment, but you did, and I appreciated that touch.
It looked nice.
It was a nice little detail of like, nice, cool, I like that. And then I like the progression of building power. I like getting my new abilities. I like upgrading my strength and my dexterity and my speed and all these things. I like the different weapons. I like that there's a fucking umbrella that I'm sure does have a purpose and does have a use. I just haven't found it yet. And yeah, the more I play Death's Door, the more I really, really enjoy Death's Door, and I'm excited to get back to it. Other than that, I've been replaying things. I finished my God of War replay for our God of War 2018 hype series that we're doing right now over at twitch.tv/2pennygames. You can go over there and watch the VODs of last week's playing of that. The week before, I think, is might still be up, but is about to go down in a few days. So if you want to watch that, that's there. You can watch Phil work his way through the first time of God of War 2018. We didn't make as much progress last week as I would have liked, but Phil was really, he's enjoying the world. He's enjoying being in it. He's playing around with the combat systems. He's doing a bunch of side stuff this time around. So I think he's really, really enjoying this one, which is always great. Hype is always really fun when both of us are enjoying the experience.
Yeah.
It can be quite painful when one of us is not having a good time. And if both of us aren't having a good time, oh boy, it sucks. But yeah, he does seem to be enjoying God of War 2018. Obviously, this week we won't be able to get back to that because we're in Florida. So we're going to supplement that with you playing some Metal Gear Solid for a little while. I don't know if we're going to make it all the way through. If we do, cool. If we don't, oh well, that's fine. I will say we may not stream it again, but if we start it, we're always gonna be recording it. So eventually, a full playthrough of that, and there will be an after the hype review of Metal Gear Solid Connor's Edition or something. I don't know. I'll figure out a title for it.
You can give a
name. And then we're gonna have to figure out how to include Phil on that one somehow, in some way.
Yeah, if he's willing to join in that day.
Oh, I'm sure he is. Other than that. Yeah, I did pick up some Miles Morales just because I finished getting that Spider-Man Remaster plat, and I was still itching for more. Granted, there is a trophy in Spider-Man Remaster to play on New Game Plus on the hardest difficulty, which you only unlock after playing the game once. Which I started, and then I was like, I just did this. I don't want to do this. I want to do something new. So I loaded up Miles Morales. I really enjoyed the small little combat tweaks they made to Miles Morales that I talked about in my Miles Morales review last year. But I had forgotten that those had happened because I've been playing so much remastered. But yeah, moving your combat finishers to your combos, your combo instead of your what do they call it? Like your little like ability bar, and then with the inclusion of the venom powers, super smart move. And I hope they keep that, and I hope they make it work for Peter as well in that way. I like that Miles does subtly feel different than Peter, like from animations to how he fights to, you know, all of that different stuff. He does feel different, and that's cool. I love the way he swings. I love that there's more control in the swinging. I can do more tricks. I can do more traversal, you know, like little tricks and speed ups and things to make myself, to give it like a little bit of flair and to make it go faster and make it, or maybe slow it down if I want to, and so forth. But yeah, the story in Miles Morales is very clearly not as good as the story in the first game. Clearly they had their B team on Miles Morales, I think. But yeah, good game. I like it a lot, as, you know, still. Surprise.
Yeah, you've
guys,
always been crazy about it.
Guys, the game I liked last year, hey, guess what? I still like it.
Yeah. Now better than it's on PS5, because you played it on PS4.
I did play it on PS4. And, you know, now I'm playing with the ray tracing and the 60 FPS, and man, that's great. I love that. That's always great. Yeah. God of War, 60 FPS, fucking phenomenal with the HDRs and the full. We're playing on I'm in my dad's house in Florida right now, house sitting, and he's got just this big ass TV and playing God of War full HDR on a PlayStation 5, 60 frames per second, big HDR TV. Woo! That's a sexy looking game right there,
very
man.
Nice.
But yeah. This next week, I hope to play more Death's Door, and I hope to give Guardians of the Galaxy more of a chance. I played it last week or whatever, really wasn't into the combat at all.
One more chance.
But, you know, it winning Best Narrative, me seeing that clip online, and Phil constantly boasting about how great the story is in that, I should really give it a chance, especially because I do good. I am a narrative. Narrative is important to me in video games. It's not the most important thing, but I do like it a lot. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Connor, anything else to add this week for what we've been playing? We just did Sora in Smash for the first time.
He's a very floaty guy.
Very floaty guy. I thought he was all right. I liked him.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
You know, he's fun enough.
I'm in the same boat as you. You were a little bit more negative, I felt, with him. You still liked him.
I didn't get as much enjoyment as I wanted to out of playing him.
Yeah. Funny enough, I found out I really liked Kazuya.
You know what's funny? I did that too, and I did like Kazuya as well.
Yeah, he's a very fun, maybe a really good character.
Strong as fuck, man. Yeah. Strong as fuck. It was hard. I was playing one of my mains, and you were giving me a hard run for my money, and I think you did win that round. But anyways, you know, Smash, still Smash. Yeah. So that's great.
One more thing I have to add, I didn't get much chance to play it, and it's not really a new game that I've been playing, but it's had a change up. So a couple months ago, I've obviously been, for about a year now, into fighting games, and I started a game called BlazBlue Central Fiction. Now, I love that fighting game. It came out in 2016. I play it with friends, but I couldn't do anything online because it's an old fighting game, and as those things tend to go, people stop playing them, and you can't really play anything. Play anybody online. But recently, something has really gripped fighting games in the past year or so. And funny enough, around the time I got into it. Because you see, the way that online is done, usually, was using something called a delay-based netcode. Now, I don't know the specifics of it, but pretty much it was very common to play fighting games that had this way to connect you to other players, and you'd be behind on frames, so you wouldn't be able to properly play the game. And that would really contribute to the short lifespan that some fighting games would have, because if you can't play effectively with people everywhere else, there's not much reason to keep playing the game. But recently, BlazBlue is the next game to actually have Arc Systems Works, I think they did it, go back into one of their old games and institute rollback netcode, which completely changes the way that online's played. It makes them exponentially better from my own experience. It recently happened, actually not about 2 years ago, happened to Guilty Gear Accent Core Plus R. It happened to, I know, long name. It happened to, I think it happened to some kind of King of Fighters game. Yeah, King of Fighters 98. It's now, people are realizing that that's a great way to revolutionize and get people playing these older fighting games that have gone by the wayside. And BlazBlue has been taking the fighting game community by storm, because everybody's going back to play that game now that you can actually play it efficiently. And I'm super happy that now all of a sudden I'm able to play games as they were when they were released, despite it being, years and years later when these games otherwise wouldn't be being played. And then, of course, we have ports coming of old fighting games like Persona 4 Arena Ultimax that was unveiled at the Game Awards. All of these kinds of things. I was able to get a little bit of BlazBlue in and play that, and I was enjoying my time exponentially with finally being able to play people other than the same 3 characters that my friends play. So
Fantastic.
I'll be jumping back into that when I get home.
Lovely.
Very much so.
Fantastic. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for your Two Penny Gamescast, episode 73. Remember, you can catch this show every week, Monday, 8 a.m. Central Time, over at youtube.com/2pennygamescast or mainstream podcast services of your choice, Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the works. We're out here. Please, give us a rating, a high one, preferably. Drop some comments. What did we miss that you wanted us to talk about, et cetera, et cetera. Let us know, man. I would love to one day incorporate some type of listener 2 pennies so that we can, get more news articles in and more news topics or just general conversation topics as a whole. It doesn't have to be about the news. I'd really like to, evolve and grow the show from there. So, but until then, drop a like, drop a follow, a subscribe, share it with your friends. It really does help out. We really do appreciate all of that. But until next... Oh, and then, of course, twitch.tv/2pennygames, God of War, Metal Gear Solid. We're doing it every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Hype. The final episode of the Kingdom Hearts playthrough is up and live right now. You can go watch that along with the After the Hype review of God of War 3 Remastered. All of those are live on the YouTube channel right now. Go check those out. Give them a like and all that. But until next week, have a great week. And Connor, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye.